Hello everybody, welcome to another stream. How's it going? So last stream what did we work on last stream? That's a good question. Something with the occlusion buffer, I think, fixing a bug in the, oh no, that was it. We corrected the ordering of these ellipsoids per pixel because they were sorted per tile and that wasn't quite good enough. Well, they were roughly sorted per tile based on a view space bounding box around each ellipsoid. But now they've been sorted front to back properly per pixel based on the hits. So we do that in the shader and it adds a little bit more to the shader, but it still renders in a reasonable amount of time, but these aren't really good numbers. When we get full screen, it kind of changes a bit. There's stuff to tinker with later. So, we're working on today. Right, okay. Right, so working today is transparency. Because we've not really tested it out, but we've written the code for it. So we're going to test it out, just give it a go. So I think we can start off by going to the game. Whatever, this very simple game with an entity thing. And we're going to put some I don't know where the transparency even comes from. Alright, they're just hard-coded to 1. They're in the model. We could have some overall alpha that gets added to an instance, maybe. Yeah, maybe we can give it a different model ID. But now we just need a test. Alright, so yeah, we put it, so that's a Y, sorry, Z2, okay. So we put these at 0, or maybe even -2. And then we'll put in probably a different ID. Box, but it'll make the ones with box, we'll make those transparent. So when we do this sort of find in the GPU or the graphics code, when we upload our models, we have this sort of find or load model. Each instance will call this. Wait 2 seconds. Right, be right back. I'll go how my son gets to sleep. BRB. Right, welcome back everybody. Right, so we're trying to make it such that we have some kind of model. So from the game side in the game, we have an entity system, and right now the way we're relaying models is we have a temporary enumeration, and we've got ones like box, tile, player, and material. And yeah, when we have the editor for the models, they will come from an actual asset. But for now, this is good enough. And inside the graphics, we can then... Oh, cool. Inside the graphics, we can do a final load. And hang on a minute. Yeah. Let's call this one the box. And let's just say there's only one in there, and we'll give it a half transparency. And let's say it's just a sphere. Let's make it a scale of 1:1 with 0 translation. Fills up the whole area. No rotation, obviously, and yeah, we haven't really got multiple materials yet. Something we still need to add, but it's not going to take too long to do that. So where it says, where's this one? Cool, gotcha. Right, so we're going to get this graphics model ellipsoids packed, so it'll be like ellipsoids, source ellipsoids, I guess we'll call it. So that'll just be, you know, based on the enumeration. So I think the asset path, what's it called? The path hash. Oh, path hash, is that equal to temp graphics box? Then that'll be box. If not, it would be material ellipsoids. Great, great, great. And then we can do the same sort of thing where we do it with a count, source ellipsoids count, and we just simply do the core array count, which do a size of divided by size of element, because it's an array, a C array. Cool. And then we just simply plug these in to where it's currently set into this material ellipsoids model. It's a very basic, terrible model. That's just the way it is. I didn't quite finish all of those. So just uploads into the GPU basically for that model. If it's a newly inserted model. Okay. Right. Let's give that a run now. We should see some transparent ellipsoid behind the camera. So we get a bit of a crash here. One of the entity system functions is crashing. So let's take a look into that. So go to game.c. Well, we added this, right? So, right, the coordinate is -2. So that is kind of telling. We don't have negative numbers. So, right, that must mean we should probably put everything else forward by 2. So we can at least put it in a good place at 0. All right, let's give that a go. And oh, there it is. Nice. It seems like the transparency is working. Although we are getting there's some weird behavior when you go inside it, I think. It's pretty cool. Maybe we can get a few of these things going, you know? Get some overlap. So if we move the actual... Let's make another one of these guys. And let's put it 2 ahead. And we'll do the same. We'll move everything. We'll probably add like 8 to it or something. Really push it out. Yeah. And then we can take a look at the world through these 2. Right, those didn't show up as transparent ones anymore. Then these ones... I don't know what's going on there, to be honest. They're both of box. All we did was push these out. Weird. Oh, the map is limited in size, isn't it? That's why. So, the map... The region dimensions are these big, and this is how many regions we have. So, we need to up the number of regions. Let's do it as a 6x6. Let's give that a go. Right. Okay, so we've got 2 transparent things here. There is some... That's quite alright. I don't know why this is cut off though. This is bizarre. Yeah, the occlusion culling is actually a bit busted. I was not really rendering... I just turned the occlusion culling off just then. This is actually bigger, typically. I don't know why. $12. But we've got a bunch of regions. So I don't know. Like, there's definitely enough room for these to go on the map. Pretty sure. The player's at 10. 16. 12. There's something a little bit strange going on here. Let's disable the occlusion culling. There's... Yeah, that's a bit bugged out actually. I thought I fixed it, but appears not. So this is one of those sort of player entities because it's sort of above the ground. And there should be one a bit further on, but there isn't. But I remember... This is very bizarre. Right, update graphics payload. So it goes over all the archetypes, all the entities, and it just adds it in, right? Right, add 0.5 so it puts it in the middle of the tile or something. Now what is that doing? Alright, it's got a scale of 1. The model itself. Yeah. That's a bit bizarre. Wait, it's fine, it's fine. Right, this... here. So we're iterating over a particular region. So that's why it's clipping stuff out. Perfect. So what we need to be doing is using, say, iterate over all regions. This is a region. So we have essentially we have a grid cell called a region. So we have these regions such that you can sort of just iterate over a subset of entities quite quickly. Everything is organized into regions. So that's the idea. All the memory is next to each other inside a region, right? So I think we need to do a region grid dims to go over all regions. We shouldn't really be doing that though. We should take where the camera is and go around the region around the camera. But yeah, it's the way it is for now. So that should render everything. There we go. Cool, so why don't we move... Right, I'm actually getting this thing here now, which is strange because... Anyway, so we've got an actual entity being rendered in there. So what we should probably do is make these transparent spheres above the little world here. So if we make the regions go up as well, and then we can say, right, the coordinate in which they sit at would be probably, let's say, 4. Be alright, wouldn't it? And there's a player that was at 0, 0. Like, why is there one at 0, 0? Why was there a player model there? I don't see one at 0, 0, 0. Because it was right where the other one was. Maybe it gets updated in the game. No, it's all disabled code. See, I'm not sure what that is about. There might be some error in the entity system to do the iterator or something. I don't think there is, but you know. Right, this is bugging out like crazy. Right, I think I made the regions too big and the code is not optimized. Something incredibly dumb like that is probably going on. Where did we put it? We put it at 4. His PC's on. Oh, Vulkan device lost. Great. Stream's alright. There we go. Okay. Transparency ones are here. I reckon we're getting some odd results through the iteration process now, I imagine. Is this going over the regions, right? Min-max, yeah. Right, maybe it's going past the number of regions, so it's accessing invalid memory, perhaps. What does it do? Great. Alright, what's it saying here? Region's end, is that an exclusive end? I think so. That's what I typically do. So if any is... Yeah, I think it's an inclusive. I think that's right. Ooh. Let's give that a go. For some reason it's bugging out real hard when I just move the camera a bit. We didn't add anything. Let's put these back down. Let's drop the number of Y regions. And I see nothing. So maybe this take one was wrong. Right, we're seeing some stuff up here. There's the two transparent ones. I don't know where this one is coming from right here. That's the strangest thing to me. Disable the occlusion culling there. Right, this is what I wanted to see, right, is these transparent ones. But yeah, as we get close to these, there's some weirdness going on. And think of... Oh, the occlusion buffer's still on. Right, it's good. Right, so I think these are going in as part of the occlusion buffer, which is bad. Or becoming occluded, so we've got to deal with that code. I'm not sure where this is coming from, but I'm just going to ignore it because it's not what we're looking at today. So yeah, to re-enable the occlusion buffer, we're seeing that these are actually affecting. They're being treated as they're being rendered into the occlusion buffer. So we've got to correct that. So I know exactly where that is, and I remember leaving it out actually. So if we go to occlusion something, the render occlusion buffer, we recreate the occlusion buffer if it's resized or if it's the first frame. Cool. If it's enabled, what we do is we run the rate. Yeah, we do the tile binning, and the allowed transparency will be set to false. So in the tile binning, we will emit some ellipsoids, but we are not checking if those ellipsoids are actually transparent, and therefore ignoring them. So the thing is, right, so this gets one thread group is on a model at the moment, and this is just because, well, it's just the way I've done it, but we might want to split them out into two separate shaders where you process 32 model instances in one go. Or more, all right, we'll see. But yeah, so for now we've just got one thread group which does an instance, and I guess they all check this, which is quite bad actually. We should probably split it out into a separate array. But anyway, then after the model instance has passed the occlusion test, we will do all of these ellipsoids for the model, so it does it in batches of 32 at a time. So it's 32 threads that run in lockstep through this thing. So it picks up the ellipsoid and gets the view space bounding box. Sorry, it gets the screen space bounding box around it, a rough one, right? It's not perfect. And if it also gets a depth as well, so if it's behind the camera or out of the view frustum, either side basically, it's going to continue. If not, it's going to check the occlusion buffer, and if it's occluded, it will skip. So one of the other things we need to do is we need to say, so thankfully we've got this system here now, because we didn't have this before. We used to pre-allocate it much earlier outside of this for loop, but now we do it here. We say, right, how many of them pass this test, because there's 32 threads running in lockstep. So we go, right, how many do we need to copy? And this would be a number from anywhere between 1 and 32. And then it will basically, the first active thread will bump allocate using an integer, so space in some array, share it with the rest of the threads, add the offset for each thread, and they will get their insert index, so up to 32 different indices, and we'll insert the data into those arrays. So, see here, source alpha. Well, we can also say if BC allowed transparency, so is not allowed, and source alpha is less than 1, then we can also continue, right? And not bother doing it. So that is what we're missing. So allow transparency to be set to false for the occlusion buffer, but it'll be set to true for the main screen render. So now we can go up to these guys and look through them, and no longer do they populate the occlusion buffer anymore. We can check it here. So here's the occlusion texture. You're only seeing these fully opaque things actually impact the occlusion texture. So that's nice. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I do like it. And we're even getting this sort of anti-aliasing as well. I can take a screenshot here. Just press the button. So yeah, we're seeing some anti-aliasing going on. And you even see the anti-aliasing through here as well. So it's in some sort of rough ray trace anti-aliasing. It's not that great. It's great for edges of objects, but it's not great for overlaps of objects, which is a shame. I gotta see if I can figure out another metric that I could use for this one. But you know, it's okay. Does the job. Here it's not really doing it too great. I think that's because it's very light here, but I don't know for sure. But yeah, we've got other shaders though. Other ray tracers, shall we say. We also have a, let's go to the graphics code. We also have the SSAA, so super samples and anti-aliasing. This is the most expensive one. So it's very costly. I've got it at 4 times, so there's 16 subpixels. So let's see if it works for these. Right, that seems alright. Let's take a screenshot with this. It's really costly though, I can feel it. Let's take a look at these ones. You'll be able to tell the quality is far better. Right, so we've got an image. Here it is. So we'll be able to compare it. Yeah, look at that. It's way nicer there, the AA. And then here as well. And then like you see here, it's managing to AA even the overlaps because it's doing 16 pixels per pixel and then downsampling it. But we've got, that's configurable, so you can configure it to like 4, 8, 64 because it's a 2 by, it's a Two-dimension, isn't it? Two-dimensional. So it's looking much better, that one, if you compare it with the other screenshot. See, it's just night and day difference. Wait, where is it? Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. Right, so transparency seems to be okay here. It would be nice to see some more complex things about it, though. We should put tons. Let's try the MSAA one next. So this is the optimization on top of super samples and editing, where only does one. It should be faster. It seems like it's slower for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's not. I don't know. Yeah, here's the other one. Let's take this screenshot. Let's see how it compares to the SSAA. I'm seeing some issues here. Be interesting to see if. But yeah, you know, that looks quite nice, doesn't it? The AA there. Here as well, right? So let's see the overlaps. Overlaps are sort of going for it. Could be better though. This is not looking too great, to be honest. Whereas the SSAA, that was looking on point. I think there might be some bug in the MSAA shader. No, but it is firing it through the middle of the ray. Yeah, there might be some. There might be the way I've decided to do it might not be actually that great. We'll see. Or there's some bug. There could well potentially be some bug. But yeah, the transparency works. That's all I'm interested in. Let's have a bit of a play though. Let's go back to the quick and easy shader, the ray trace anti-aliasing one. So with this, what I want to try next is let's put a ton of transparent objects over and let's just see how they look and see if we could get, well, just to see what's, just have a look at them, you know, see if there's a problem with it. So let's put like, we could do a for loop, right? Why not? Why not do one of these? The crap. Yes, I want to do one of these here with a box, which is what we're currently using for a transparent object. So it's a bit too many. I was thinking maybe a 4x4. And let's just see how those look when we look through them onto the scene. Maybe see them. Yeah, so this happens because it's something to do with the custom culling, I think. But we're getting a bit of pop there. That's not good. Yeah, things aren't really sorting properly. Oh no. So that's just to do with the overlapping code. I've got some early out system in. If I turned the early out code off, it will probably, the performance will be far worse, but I think that's what's causing the bug. So in the ray trace anti-aliasing shader, we've got this sort of early out code here. And there's some like heuristic to see if, so the objects are roughly sorted front to back, roughly. So we've got this sort of heuristic where we say if the near depth on the overlapping box in view space is further away. Wait, sorry, is closer than the. Wait, what are we saying? If the near hit. Yeah, sorry, I was completely misreading that. Yeah, so if the near, if the back, if so, we ray trace against some ellipsoid and we get some sort of. Well, I don't even know why we need to do a comparison first, because if you're breaking out, you might as well just do it up here. Yeah, that'll do it. Right, I can move that around in the other ones as well. Yes, the basic idea is we're saying if that the view space bounding box of the objects we're about to do the ray trace on, if that has a the near Z of that, so the bit closest to the camera, if that is further away than our furthest opaque hit we have so far, then just early out. So it's a bit of a rough guess. Although it's clearly, I think it's causing some problems here. It's not, you can see here how it sort of will jump. I think it's earlying out. So for overlapping stuff, so this basically says if we've stepped far enough so there's no more overlapping objects, it's kind of a guess for that. So if I remove it, it's going to probably work. Hey Lupo, how's it going? How are you this cold night? I'm not doing bad, thank you. I'm a bit tired though, to be honest. Just been... Oh, it's still fighting here, interesting. Oh, I know why. Okay, thankfully it's not that code. Because that code is like... I thought it was perfect. And I think it might be fine. The problem is we've got a maximum number of 4 overlapping objects. So it picks the closest one. Something like that. And there's actually 4 here. No. Yeah, there's something to look into. Freezing my room low, multiple layers of clothes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah, I usually like chuck a hoodie on if it's just me in the house, but when I got family and we chuck the heating up because of the baby. So it's usually quite warm in here because, yeah. But yeah, I got a nice little room here to myself, so typically this room stays warm throughout the day. When I go into the house, it gets freezing. But yeah, it's been quite chilly. I like it when it's cold though. You know, when you go outside and it's like frosty. But if it's just like cool and rainy, it's quite miserable. You know. How are you about the winter? Do you like the winter much? Yeah, exactly. He's had a bit of a cold lately as well. He's had this. He's had a bit of runny nose today, but before he had a temperature, and it was quite. Yeah, I haven't got too much good sleep because of it. But yeah. So let's do that other optimization. We move this near hit thing. So we don't even have to do the ray check, and that'll save us 1 extra ellipsoid per pixel, potentially. Or when it exits, which is crazy. I didn't think about it that way. So that's for the MSAA. There's the early out for the super sample anti-aliasing. Right, let's put that back there. Good, good, good. Oh, right. So let's take a look at that. So the problem is we have at most 4 layers of overlap. That's where we're like, that's what I decided to support, right? And if it's just 4 transparent ones, all good. But as soon as an opaque one comes onto the scene, it overwrites the last one that you hit. But there was no opaque ones on the scene, so I think there's something a bit Right, we've got transparent object, right? Insert index, but if that's less than 4, okay. Then only up the count if it's at the end of the array type of thing, right? Seems alright to me, so I'm happy with that. So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused, but I guess we can add a little bit more spacing on these ellipsoids, but I think these are spheres though, but why are they overlapping each other like they are? They've got a radius of 1. Something is up with the scale, isn't it? I thought a radius of 1 would mean yeah. Right, so here's the world from ellipsoid thing. Now, so if we were to say if is mouse over at equaled print me out GPU hprintf I guess I only need one of them, right? Scale it's hard to know actually, because it'll only be if there's no rotation applied. World from ellipsoid to get it into the world. Oh yeah, but there is no rotation. Yeah, so what I want to say is provide. Yeah, I guess we can use axis.x. I think that will do it. Yeah, because it's in world space. So if we just make sure we target one of them, which we know. Yes, they've just got 1. It's hitting 2 for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, why is it hitting 2? Weird. Yeah, Susan has the moments. If my room was warmer, then I'd definitely prefer to be cold winter over scorching heat of summer. Yeah. What you mean? Yes. Well, where, what, whereabouts in the world are you? Or what country are you from? There's we on 24 AC I'm looking, but can't because electricity bill. Yeah. See, when I went to Australia, places where we were staying at in relatives' homes, they had these, air conditioning. I was like, oh, great. And, sometimes I would see like the window left open, I'll just go and close it. And then, like, I'll pop outside and I'll see, like, there's these big old units. They're huge. They're like, I guess I can measure it in wheelie bins because this is the best thing I've got, which is probably universal. Actually, no, it might not be because it's like a UK wheelie bin. Huh. What's a good size for this thing? I would say they're probably the length of a car, but they're half of the width of a car. Sometime, or this one that I saw, it was huge. And you go next to it, it's just pumping out so much heat, and obviously it's cooling the house down. So I'm just imagining like all these houses dot about, making the homes cooler, then making the. I wonder how much the hot air will contribute to the. It might not, but it's already baking hot outside, so I imagine it accumulates quite nicely. Yeah, it's interesting. It's just scorching hot. Kazakhstan. Ah, interesting. Mhm. Right. So, what sort of temperature ranges do you get there typically? And how does it vary? Because here in the UK, you get like one warm summer where it's like, sorry, one day in the summer of the year literally would be, it could be about 36 degrees to about 40 degrees sometimes, right? That's the best you can get on one day, or literally happen one day. And then from then on out, it's like summer's like 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. And then like winter, it's anywhere from like -5 to like 10 degrees. It's such a variation. Yeah, so we're getting a 1 on the scale. So the is there any world from view scaling going on? I don't think there is. Sorry, or view from world, that's what I meant to say. Get past all the gizmo bits. Oh, for crying out loud, I went too far. Oh, it comes from the payload, of course it does. I forgot I made that change. Camera. Yeah, so only got a bit of a rotation and a translation. So there's no scaling going on, and these things are looking bigger than they should. So it must be the ray tracing code which is just wrong. Like, so I'm transforming it back into the local space of the object, doing the ray trace. So why is my... Here's the code, isn't it? Transforming back into the local space of the object, then doing the ray trace. So when we say a unit, that's a unit sphere, right? Or unit ellipsoid. It must be, right? Or is my tiling, the way I'm spacing, wrong? It cannot be. Let's go to the models quickly. Ah, here they are. Yeah, so I've just got a 1, 1, 1, 1. Am I, what is it, like a 0.707? Is that what I need to set these things to for a unit length? It cannot be that. Or it might be, right? Right, that's improved, but that's only done it on the scale of the... See, they're still kind of overlapping. But if I did that again... Right, I don't think this is it, but it might be. So when I do the ray trace here, let's say the unit length is 0. The number's obviously a bit bigger. I think it's 0715, whatever. I forget what it is, the number. It's like, I forget what it is actually. How you calculate it. You do it with the square root or something. Yes, okay. So that's what I'm looking for, is like something like that. But yeah, so yeah, they're nice and transparent, and you can get 4 of them. You can get 4 of them lined up. Oh. Well, I don't know what that looks like, 4 of them lined up or not. It's like 2, to be honest. Um, yeah, I'm only seeing 2. Bit weird. The Almighty Summer's here. Fairly tame. But there'll be days like 37 to 40 on my days for like 2, 3 weeks. That is quite rough. In the south, it reaches 45 degrees. Oh wow. Feels literally like an oven, I can imagine. See, typically when it gets, for me, when it gets like 25 degrees, I start to not being able to cope and I have to take my top off. And in the house, I'm just like shirtless the whole day. And then it obviously when it's about 30 degrees, I start to not being able to like concentrate as well as I usually can. And then when it's like 35, I'm just like laying down or whatever. It's too hot. Yeah, I know. I think it's like in Spain they typically like get up later. I think it is. I remember hearing because it gets just so hot in the summer. They just start their day later. Also, a small group of people live in places like Yakutai, Yak, Yakutia. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Very, very cold. Another end of the extreme. Minus? Is that? Wow. See, I've been to where is it? I've been to Svalbard, which is the furthest north settlement. Uh, but where is that? Yakutia. Oh, is it spelled a bit differently? Might be with an I instead. Yeah, I think it's with an I. Saka. Officially Republic of Saka, largest republic of Russia. Right. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really want to go on maps. Because I don't know if it's going to reveal my location or anything like this. Fair enough, the coldest city. Fair enough. Coldest place where people actually live. Okay, I'm on maps now. But yeah, I've been to Svalbard, which I think is here. This looks familiar. I've been up here. So we went over to Norway. And then went up here. Went with my granddad and my brother. It was a lot of fun. And that was about minus 20. But when you went on the snowmobiles, it got to about temperatures that would have felt like minus 50. So you had to wear these big old suits and stuff. Yeah, 20 degrees, 28, yeah. It's good temperature. Yeah, so maybe if we wanted to say unit sphere, perhaps we need to be living in these sorts of. See, I forget what that is. It's like a square root of. It's not square root of 2, I think that's the two-dimensional one. But I don't think it's square root of 3 either. Hang on a minute, I've got to switch to a non-programmer calculator. No, what is it? Or is it 1 divided by square root of 2? Is that what it was? Yeah. That's the number we need. So that's the, if you was to get a vector, a 3D vector, and take a length of it, sorry, what should I say? If you just to take a diagonal unit, if you just get a diagonal unit vector across all 3 dimensions, pointing across all 3 dimensions, all of them will be set to this value. So maybe just the ray tracer needs to be that. I don't think the model instances need to be set to that. That just sounds a little bit strange to me. Okay, so maybe then they need to be 0.5. Oh, because it's a radius, isn't it? Yeah, okay, maybe it is 0.5. It's got to be in the... it cannot be, though. Okay, so they're properly... yeah, they're proper there now. Although we're starting to get some weird artifacts, not gonna lie. Oh, that's just to do with the front. Yeah, we'll ignore that. That's just something to do with the near plane thing. It's not a big deal, that bug. Alright. So here, this is quite a nice view. We're seeing 4 ellipsoids through there. Right, so what's interesting then... So the bit that I'm a little bit confused about, we've got to get a bounding box around these because... Right, so in the local space of the object, a radius of 0.5, see, that's what you would expect in a unsigned, normalized local space, right? But I thought I was in signed norm. But I guess that's just to do with... Oh, no, okay, with a radius of... It's got a radius of 1 here, isn't it? No, not a radius of 1. So you'd be in the local space. It's a radius of 1, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I wonder what it is, because if we put a view space box around it or whatever, let's draw those boxes around it. So let's say disable every entity except for one of them. If we place down, so when we try and render the emit ellipsoids, right, we're going to say, okay, well, here's the view from ellipsoid. I think that's what we want. We can say draw 3D AABB OBB. view from ellipsoid, offset. So I think I can just do unorm or norm. That'd be signed norm, I think. Should have probably named that a bit better. So infinity, because we don't really want a border, we want to, well, no, we do border. Let's say 0.1. What's in local space? 0.05. Color of -1 and z test false. So let's look at that. View space bounding box. All right, Cache Lupo, have a good one. Good to see you, my friend. Right. So this is what it. This is local space, right? Of the. Well. Yeah, so I don't think there's any. Okay, so I don't think there's nothing wrong with the ray tracing. It's the way I'm doing my grid or something, maybe in the world. So we could, if we was to extend it down on the x and, or just do it on the x and do that again, what we'll see is there'll be overlap between the two boxes. Yeah. Okay, so it's not to do with the ray tracing, that's the problem, which is great. I'm happy about that. There's a problem in general with there's a problem elsewhere. So we'll keep this here, but go back to that ray trace was that it did a 0.5. RTAA. Let's drop this, oh, sorry, put this back to 1. So that's cool. Now, okay, so if we have those boxes around the, so this box is the ellipsoid from view. Yeah, so it's just the box around the ellipsoids in local space, basically. So there they are, they're proper size now, that's cool. But why are they overlapping, right? What's causing that? So they seem to be double the size than they need to be. The world from model has a scale of 1. Right. I know the problem. So yeah. If it's kind of like maybe drawing it would be easier. So we have this sort of like grid world in a sense at the moment. This is what we have. And when I place down the models are placed on the center of this sort of grid world. And then they have a scale of 1. Maybe they should have a scale of 0.5 because the problem is because it's assigned norm. So it means that this actually has a length of 2, in a sense. If it would have to have a length of 2 rather than being a length of 1. So this is like 1 unit in the game. So we can call it 1 meter. If I were to say this has a scale of 1 for an object, then this would have to have a scale of 2. So I have to say the world model has a scale of 0.5 if I didn't want to make it fit on one of these tiles. And that's the problem. So I obviously could have done it at the ellipsoid level, the ellipsoid has half, but when you have multiple ellipsoids, yeah, it's wrong. It's just wrong. So if we now go to the graphics, that's model from ellipsoid, that's different. What we're looking for actually is in game. Now in game, in the renderer, sorry, when we pass it to the renderer via the graphics payload, we offset by 0.5, so we put it in the middle of the area, but then what we actually want to do is set the scale to 0.5. And that's our problem. And now we'll see the box. Cool, so let's take a look at the transparency and see what... There we go, it's fixed it now. So now things are appropriately sized. So let's get rid of that and then go back to game. And then bring back these transparent ellipsoids. And let's just see like what's going on with the amount of layers that we have. We should have 4 layers that we should see. Right. So this one does 2 layers and then an opaque hit, right? There's 4 here. So we have up to 4 layers. When an opaque hit comes in, it should overwrite the last one. But it seems like there's only 2. Oh, there's a 3rd layer, you can see it. Wait, can you? Maybe I'll take a screenshot. No, you would clearly see it. Here you clearly see it, right? 3 layers, and then I don't know why it's flickering there, but anyway. 3 layers and then an opaque hit. So there's something buggy with the code going on. I think it's with the overwrite code in the... So RTAA. So when we go over all of our ellipsoids in a roughly front to back manner, you would have done... All of them would have been... When you have those 4 in a row, you would have basically gone over and hit all of those transparent ones, and they would have overwritten each other. And then, or overwrote each other, shall we say. Then, when it comes for the opaque, it should overwrite the last one. But it seems like it's overwriting the one before that. And then making the one behind that seem impossible to hit or something. So I guess we can just print this out. Right, so we can do like an if we're on this pixel and print out some things, which would be quite nice. So I want to be able to say if mouse is at chord, then just print out something like do it here. GPU is opaque. Alpha well, let's do this and then do a not of it because I don't know how. You know, floats are a bit weird. Maybe. So it's the same expression as that. So we should be seeing 4 opaques and then a 5th one. So we put our mouse on what we want to see. Right, so apparently we hit 6 opaques. There's something to my entity system where we've got multiple things on the same. Like, I think there's something dodgy going on with the entity system. That's causing this. So we've probably got multiple of the same objects on the same. Huh. So if we get this back down to a 1 by 1 and just see what's. How many is it registering? And then if so, we'll print out all the objects that we're seeing and be like, what's going on here? Right, look at that. What are you doing there? It's an invalid one. So there's 2 ones which are transparent apparently, and there's a whole bunch there which are opaque. Great. Well, bugs. Bunch of bugs. So there's a bug in the entity system then. I wonder what we can do to get around it. Well, is it a bug in the entity system, right? Can I say if the coordinate is equals 0, 0, 0 and print those out here? Let's see how many yeses we get. Hey Voodoo, how you doing, sir? Hope you're having a good week so far. Right, there's about 9 yeses. So there's 9 here, which we saw. So it's coming from the entity system. What a bugger. So if I were to get rid of this, was pretty good, but today was so annoying. Like, I'm just so annoyed at the fact. Alright, there's 1 yes. So it might be coming from these. Yeah, the week's just getting started, right? Isn't it? So Monday was good. So many students use ChatGPT without understanding what the code does. Yeah. To be honest though, people already like that anyway. You know, they're just using some library without knowing what the code does. what goes on behind the scenes, right? But that's a whole new level of it. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I used to get with, well, I still do it sometimes when I'm being lazy, but I get with doing maths, you know. I'll like not bother trying to understand it, just mess about. But then like, yeah, you really need to understand it if you want to actually solve the problem though, because you'll just have some code in your code base that will inevitably crash and burn when a certain set of data comes in and you won't know how to fix it. So yeah, you should really understand every piece of code in your code base, and that's what I do these days. Yeah, when I'm trying to jam something, I definitely will allow myself to ignore that just to see if I can get it to work, and then try and understand it later. I don't use ChatGPT, but I still don't understand what I'm writing. Oh, okay. As a web dev, this stuff hurts. That's cool. Yeah, don't worry. It's just, you know, they're rendering as lots of very domain specific stuff. And yeah, it's just a case of giving it a go and learning it, because it's quite difficult to think about this stuff again in any hands-on experience. You know, if you try and follow what, you know, if you go on and watch some talks about some GI thing, you know, I've been trying to look at this graphics conference that's gone on recently. It's got tons of good stuff actually. I highly recommend watching any of this stuff here if you're interested in learning computer graphics. But I've watched tons of like GI, which stands for global elimination stuff, and I understand a lot of it, but not all of it. But when I watch someone talk about their real-time global elimination like an Enshrouded, there's so much information in here that I just get a bit like, so what exactly do you mean? And they're like, a lot of the time when you watch these graphics conferences or whatever, they'll be referring to some past technique, which also refers to another past technique, which also refers to other past techniques. And they're all just sort of if you've been in the field for a long time, you'll know what they're talking about and you can just get it. But if someone is just picking it up, you've really got to like watch it like tons of times. Yeah, so yeah, like with rendering graphics, and there's lots of domain specific techniques. And it's just a case of just getting some hands-on experience with it and yeah, seeing what the problems are to really get your head around it well. Often I don't know what my own code does. Excellent. I use ChatGPT from time to time, but I don't use it to write a whole project with it. I don't even realize don't I didn't even realize that it was capable of doing a whole project, because every time I give it something, it fails hard. I think it's because I ask it too hard questions. I basically don't know how to do something with maths. And I'll try and be like, fine, I'll ask ChatGPT because I can't even figure out how to Google for this thing. And then it will give me some code. And I try and run it and it just doesn't work. Okay. So I just don't bother trying to solve that problem. Yeah. So I bet I've only used it like 3 times for that, mind you. But yeah. You tried to learn OpenGL a few years back, but my math skills were lacking and still are. Right. Yeah, you just want to learn like your basic ones, linear algebra, know your vectors, know your matrices, and then from there you're pretty much okay. Quaternions you could just know as a concept. But Yeah, and then I guess, but yeah, there is more maths that I definitely need to learn. I've been using some online training courses and stuff to get better at my maths, but I've been starting out all the way back on the foundation side of things because I want to sort of get the muscle memory for it, so it just comes naturally rather than I have to think about it. But yeah, I'm doing some more of that over the years. When I've used it for a very specific thing, I recently asked it to make a matrix for dithering and it worked perfectly. Oh. Didn't realize you can use a matrix for dithering. No, so ChatGPT, seriously, the best thing I saw was some C code that hashed include jQuery JS and a line. Yeah, someone probably wrote a piece of code which they knew would get pulled into that neural network and then just get pasted out again as something that's real. That's kind of a good way at taking these people down for basically stealing people's content on the internet. So that's cool. It's great. Yeah, so there's something bizarre. So when I put down more of these guys, it seems to be adding. I gotta go to my generated entity file. So it seems to be like it's getting put in and then ends up in the wrong pool or something based on the coordinate, and I don't know why. Yeah, region flat index. So the region flat would end up on 0, wouldn't it? Hmm. Right, so I wonder if we could minimize. So we got rid of all this stuff. Because then I could just put a print statement in and just figure out how many of them actually end up in the right or wrong place at initialization, right? Yeah, okay, we've still got the problem here, okay? Good. So what this means we can do is say, right, put an exit here, and then we'll just print out stuff. So the entity system, well, this flat. So the way the entity system works is per archetype. So archetype is like a structure, but it's in structure of arrays rather than array of structures. And what we do is we put all of the ones in the same region. So the region is customizable based on what you pass in at the start of the game. So I think I got it as a 4x4x4 region, and it's just a tile grid. So within that 4x4 region, it should be far bigger than this, but that's just what it's set to right now. All of the structure of arrays, all the arrays of the scalar values, basically, those are all there's so you might have, so for one archetype, which would be like the block archetype, which is like one of the ground pieces or whatever, it's got a property of model ID and it's got another one of something else, right? Well, they have their own arrays, right? Now, what it does, say if you have like 4 regions, it suballocates 4 regions, and if the regions are 4 by 4 by 4, you've got a maximum of 64 elements per region. So what happens is it puts the memory, so if you have an entity here, one entity in this region, it's got this slot and this slot, right, in these different arrays for each property, right? So this means if you have the reason why it's structured this way is so when I want to do a query, I can check all of the nearby entities with less lookups. So the idea is that you might look in probably about 4 regions at most worth of entities instead of, but maybe just 1 region, instead of searching over the whole world. So that's the idea. The reason why I've done that is because the game idea I think I want it is that the whole world has been simulated maybe. But yeah, we'll see if we want to go with that route. So the idea is that we've got all of these, say if you have 4 entities in the same region, they'll sit next to each other in memory basically, okay? So what I'm checking is, so when I flatten the region index out, I'm seeing if this region is equal. So this is region index 0, region index 1, 2, and 3. I'm seeing when they go into region index 0, because that would be where they end up at 0, 0, 0. Like they should not end up there. So if I print out this, we should be able to find out the answer. Well, see what's happening. So they are okay, there's only one that goes into that region apparently, but when we iterate there is a problem then. Yeah, so divides by number of regions, then flattens it out. Cool, cool, cool. Right. So I think that's fine. We could take the ent index though and just look at that quickly, because the ent index could also be something. Yeah, so in the thousands, right? They're not near the 0, which is where the first one goes. So that makes sense. That's good. So, okay. There's something else must be triggering it in this function, because when we run the iterator, it's now like, well, we've got tons of entities in the first region, which we don't. So I guess maybe we can take a look at the iterate code. There is the sort of iter. So when we said next archetype and then next range, right? Why is the range? This is a good one. We should be able to find out what is the number of entities that are coming back now, and which is the variable it actually is. Oh, okay, no, it doesn't run the code. And what is the variable which actually is set to high? Let's get rid of this. So let's print that per frame now. Right, so apparently there's 3 different regions which pop out. Oh, no, there isn't. Wow. Right. Let's put it after the early out where it just returns null. Right, so here when we look at the screen, what we say is there's one entity in flat index 0. There's 8. Yeah, so region index 0, region index. There's a bunch in 8, in 12, and that. So it seems like. Huh. Right, okay. So now let's take a look at the iterator. Where the hell that is. Right, here we go. So which ones are equal to 0 then? Like, what is the start index of this? Why is this coordinate array? So maybe it's uninitialized memory. But yeah, which one is it? So then I guess what we would probably... So what is that sort of start, the base entity index? What is that set to? And then with this, we should be able to see like what region is the one which is responsible for it. And then we can put some if statements in and breakpoints and something like that. Yes, index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so we see here the regions respond back with 1 count. And then it just does this. These will print out subsequently. And then this all of a sudden prints out. And it seems to be happening like after all of them have been done. So there's something bizarre going on. Could it be on the first iteration? That is a good question. So I guess I'll do another quick print and go new frame. Because I didn't really know where the frame... Well, yeah, I think it's here, where the new frame is, but... Yeah, so I suppose the new frame is here. So at the end, it's like, well, I've found all these other ones. These are helpful, right? No. They're not. So that means then when I did a next archetype, it must have reached... Like... There's a piece of code where it doesn't... Or it's a next range. It might be a next range. Is something where... Okay, so if you return 0, what does that mean? Okay, 0 is fine. Yeah, 0 is acceptable as an invalid value. So... I guess let's just print out... what things we got? Start, end, and the count. And the entity reference, the base one, and the archetype. So it might also be useful... Well... There's quite a lot of stuff printed out, and I don't want to print it all out, because then it'll be kind of unreadable. But it might be useful to print out here the range at least. But we're already doing that anyway, kind of thing. Let's just do that. Range 0 to 8. There it is. So region Flandex 32. Okay. So Flandex times, yeah, we printed out as a flat region index of 32, multiplied by the entity capacity per region for that archetype. So I guess the archetype then is just something that's just out of bounds. I don't have an archetype for that. Which is interesting. Nope. The archetypes are all archetype 2. And you're saying base index is... No, base index is here. But it must exceed the number of bits. Bit pack. Maybe. How many bits we got? Right, I've got my new encoding system, so we could probably get it to use that. But then I'll have another file, which is a bit annoying, but anyway. But yeah, so what we're doing, the start index has got how many bits? So we've got to figure that out. Well, why is there no masking here? There's masking on the way out, but... So, that's 1 byte, 2 byte, that's already 64K, right? So, right, that fits in there. So you got 8 bits, 16 bits, 21 bits. So yeah, 21 plus 21 is, yeah, so... Right. I see a bit of an issue. This needs... It's the silly old C thing where this is an int 32 and then you shift it out and then it's like, you know... This is always the problem. So that was the whole problem, guys. We found it. So we shifted it all out and it just was, yeah, being a problem. So there we go. Back to one entity. So now we can get rid of all this silly print stuff. And yeah, that one used to always get me. There's a few like things you got to remember when you do C programming. One is enumerations are not type safe if you don't type def the enum. What else? There's another one. Yeah, if you want a specific byte width enum, and you type def it to just an integer, you lose the type checking. There's like, always put brackets around your bitwise operations because the precedence is pretty bad. And if you're shifting anything by left and it's a 64-bit int, make sure you cast your integer, even if you just do a one shift left. Stuff like that. It's just such a big and easy problem to trip over. Right, where else did we put these print statements? In the generator one, wasn't it? And then in the game. Alright, so let's get back to enabling the rest of the world that we have right now. So these random entities here, and then this tile grid here. So we're going to look through this. I didn't do 4x4, did I? Then 4x4 set of transparent objects. So now when we look through these objects, we should see 4 We haven't got silly opaque things in the way. Oh wow. How's that even working? I only have 4 layers. Why is there a 5th layer? So in the shade, so we're seeing one. Ah, 4 layers per pixel. Interesting. So these ones here will not be for, like, this pixel here, these pixels here that go through all 4 of them and hit this opaque one at the back. This opaque one, these opaque ones at the back are gonna overwrite this back ellipsoid, back transparent ellipsoid, and not do any shading for that. So if we go and get a different camera angle, something like this, it's hard to get it though. Ah, there we go. You can see it. So if you see these lights, these cyan or teal lights, you see there's like 4 of them, right? But as soon as they go over the opaque one, you lose it, even though it's actually in front, right? Because the light is coming down, hits the transparent ellipsoid, then gets shot into your face. So what happens, or it doesn't work like that way, but that's the illusion. So when it overlaps one of these opaque ellipsoids, ones at the back on this tile, at the tile grid at the back, it will simply just be, it will overwrite the last transparent object, and then it will only ray trace against the 3 opaque ones in the front, and then one of these opaque ones at the back. So that's cool. So it seems like it is working as we expected. So that's good. Yeah, see? So it doesn't do there, but it disappears there. Oh yeah, cool. So that's pretty neat. So you're able to get, so as long as per pixel is not 4 overlaps, it will still look okay, which is good. Cool. I'm quite happy with this. Oh, why did I take a screenshot? 1 minute. Oh, I wanted to look around the profile on it. Yes, as soon as you get inside the bounding box of this, it disappears. Got to sort out that code. Maybe we can look into that now. Might as well while we're doing, spend time doing this. So yeah, I'm happy with the transparency now. This is good. So let's go into the ray tracer and remove that sort of like is opaque. Sort of printing code that we're going on. So this is really cool now. Now we've got some sort of culling code. Is occluded. Now I do not know if it's part of the occlusion stuff. So the depth is definitely the near thing. I think, yes, it's when we transform this outer AABB. Sorry, this local space bounding box into a screen space bounding box, which is very rough and not really the best. So if we actually go back into the game again, let's just disable everything and get, except for one object. Man, I'm loving this transparency stuff, it's cool. There we are. Rightio, so we need a... Go into shaders, and what we're going to do is inside this thing here. So we only really want to do it when we are view from local. So we could just draw the view from local box actually right here. What will it get us? Well, so we're saying if the far depth is closer than the near plane, get rid of it. We're behind the camera. So it's not this which is causing the problem. So I imagine we will be getting some kind of screen bounding box. So I reckon we can just cut right to it really and just say draw 2D AABB min-max, pass in the bounds dot min point and then the bounds dot max point. And then the depth, I guess we could just put in bounds dot depth. It's just a floating point number, so I can do some front to back sorting. Well, it can only render the closest one that it hits. If it hits multiple, we'll just pick the closest one, discard the other value. Then the bounds screen, it's in screen space, so we'll just do let's do 4 pixels, and then we'll do -1 for a white color, so all bits are on. And let's give that a go. So when we get too close, this box will disappear, maybe. Right, so we've seen it twice because it's actually happening for the occlusion buffer, so ignore this one. Well, I could just say if there is transparency, which means... Wait, what is this? This is the model instance. Yeah, I guess that's the same thing in this case. Right. Maybe I could have done it for the ellipsoid, but yeah, it should be okay. Right, so we get too close and boom, they all disappear. So that's a problem. So I've always said the far is closer to the near plane. So that is definitely interesting. So this is actually returning here, which is very confusing. So I wonder, is it this one? This looks interesting. So outside the screen, so maybe this sort of bounds check is a bit... So I'm saying if the min point is greater than the screen dimensions, or if the max point is less than... If any of them are less than. Floating point, what is this floating point? Yeah, floating point. Maybe we get some sort of like unsigned bug. Maybe. Possible. But this time I'm using float everywhere. So if we move the bounding box out, that's not the problem. But if it definitely stretches across both dimensions, yeah, okay. So if they both go out, we encounter the problem. Okay. Why is that? I don't think it's because of these two guys. We can just fdef out this code here and know for sure. I generally think it's to do with this if statement here. Alright, my compiler's got a bit of a bug there. Ignore that, please. Alright. So no, it is actually there. So it says at the far depth. Is closer than the near clip distance. So I guess that near clip. Can I just get rid of that? Or can I make it 0? Oh, don't be a logger. Right. So I made that 0. Right, so that fixes it there. Yeah, it's a little bit strange. It does start getting a bit weird. So it's at the far. Yeah, it's interesting. So the Z, where's the depth in which these things are at? You probably don't want them to go negative. Can you do some kind of like clamping on it? Because that's going to impact the... Right. So there's a Z here, half dims. Right. So the thing is you don't want... Do you remember, did I used to clamp these at 0? I think I did, and then that introduced some bug where it stops them from... But the result of adding those... Yeah, so I think I had a thing where I would... So let's get these all out onto another... Oh, one here. And I think what I used to do... Let's get that music back. Oh, this silly thing. So I used to say clamp, do a .z, clamp this value .z. Well, I think I just did a max. But then if it was behind the camera, yeah, it'd be fine, because we've got this sort of early check here. It's only just so the banding box that gets produced is reasonable. So it doesn't grow and shrink again. Yeah, see, that's okay. So then it stays the full size of the screen, basically. But, so the problem is the ray tracer, as soon as you go through it, it doesn't render it. And I guess that's just problem with the ray tracer, but I don't think this is really going to be a problem in the game anyway. So it's because we've got a very high field of view that this isn't really a great. It really stretches out the box a lot. We're like 120 field of view, so it's quite high. We probably want to shrink that down for the actual game. But I'm just really testing the limits of the renderer at the moment. But yeah, when you have smaller ellipsoids, which we'll probably have, then this will be a much better fit. Right, so there's other little issues with this as well as when you do this. I think you got to be on the same sort of level as it. No, that's looking all right. Usually it would stretch and then mirror again or something like that. But I think because we've got that new check on it, or that new clamping maybe, and the fact yeah, I think that's okay. Oh, what was that? That wasn't, yeah, a problem. That's good, that's good. Right, I'm happy with that. That's good. Fantastic. Okay, is there any other things that we would like to look at today? So that's good. Cool. So here's the list we got for the month. So we've done like the single pass down sample, we ported that. Well, I think we started before the month and then we finished it up at the start of the month. Occlusion buff we finished up. There's still some slight bugs there, but when we render tons of instances, we'll like to get those. When we render tons of instances, we'll probably want to make sure this works perfectly because we'll be doing some performance testing there. And then we sorted out the Z fighting thing, and we tested that with transparency as well, right? And it looks really good. You can get 4 layers, and you only really start noticing problems. It's 4 layers per pixel. Then we do a quick sort. Well, it's not quick sort, the quick sort. We do a very specialized sorting for 4 elements. And it seems to be good enough, and we do that for all the different ray trace shaders we have. Because the tile sorting front to back is not perfect. Then so we've done this today, this is great. We're testing a high number of model instances in the next stream. Because this is a whole thing, I can't really start that now. But this one is a nice low-hanging fruit. How does it look if we were to take some ellipsoid and make it small? Like, how does the renderer behave to that? Like, we know what it's like when it's big, but what about small? Is there some threshold where we can start to sort of fade them out or just not render them anymore? Just how do they look when there's not that many rays hitting the ellipsoid, right? Does it jump between them or something like that? How does it look? So let's just look at that today because it's nice and easy. Famous last words. So what's the best way to achieve this? Well, we could just take let's change it to make it a player so it's not a transparent one already. So the player's got like a horizontal one and a vertical one which is squished. And we're going to then, in the render, already make it a small size. Hey there, Avik. How you doing, sir? How's things going? Thank you for the raid. I guess we'll give a quick show and tell of the game that we're working on. But how did your stream go? Welcome raiders, welcome raiders. I think it was box, and then let's put this up here. So we're currently working on an engine from scratch. This is a game without an engine project, so we're working on an engine specifically for a game. Oh, there's tons of things drawing on the screen. Hang on a minute, I've got a bit of a debug thing going on in here. Where are you? Gotcha. So we've just been fixing up transparency. Well, just seeing how transparency is behaving. It's behaving pretty good. And fixing up some other little issues. So we're working on like a little ellipsoid renderer because the game's going to be based on ellipsoids. It's got PBR. We're just doing a bit of in the middle of a bit of an engine rewrite, and we're ray tracing against these ellipsoids in compute shaders. We're only using compute shaders for rendering. And we've just been looking at transparency today because we've got like a 4-layer transparency system, and it seems to be working okay. Quite good. If you have any questions about the project, guys, feel free to ask away, and we'll go into some more details. Hey, how's it going, Hancock? Welcome. You're also working on a game about an engine. Interesting. Instant follow. Let's take a gander. Right. I wish I could understand your title. See if I can get some. You didn't see programming as well? Yeah, that's what you are. Nice, DirectX 12. Awesome. Oh, there's Vulkan there, I see. See some transitions and stuff between the GPU and stuff. Right. Amazing. Right, I've got a new person I can raid now. This is great. What's your project exactly? What game you're working on? Are you still in sort of the engine phase like me, or are you on to actual game? What are some of these comments? Welcome, Pedolik. Welcome. Yeah, it's mostly in Russian. So feel free to join. I switched to English. That's cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Yeah, but usually don't hang around too much on Twitch, but if I am, and I see you on, I'll pop in. That'd be cool. Yeah, what's your project about? I'd like to hear more. Good to see another C developer programming on Twitch, because typically there's not a lot of us here. When I finish streaming, I want to send people to a person doing probably low-level programming in C, typically game dev, hopefully. And I can't really find too many of us. And that goes without saying, guys, if you have some free time and you're working on your project, definitely hop on and stream it. It's great. If you struggle getting some motivation to program, streaming is a good way to do it, because you just sort of hop on and you got to entertain people, and you can just sort of sit there and program and be locked into what you're doing and not get distracted by going on YouTube or something. And then if you get stuck, someone's typically there who can answer some questions and help you out, because people like doing that, which is really nice. So I wouldn't have to worry about feeling like being an expert, Yeah, that's that's one of the worst things, is when you are struggling really hard and your brain is like, what is the answer? In those situations, I sort of just get up and take a break, but I will explain the problem to people and see if they could help out as well. Like, I actually had it a few streams ago when I was figuring out how I was going to do the early out in my shaders, when I was doing that sort of perfectly sorted per pixel for each ray. And I wanted to try and early out as early as possible, and I was trying to figure it all out, and it took a bit, but it took me drawing some diagrams and things and really breaking the problem down. So you've just got to figure out how can you break the problem down even more and understand it, in times of that where it's quite stressful. I could try and take the find a real world example where the bug was happening, and then draw it out in 2D in Milton or something, and then like try and see like how could I solve that. Do you have knowledge about website development? Well, yeah, I used to be a web dev probably about 12 years ago, or maybe a bit longer. I don't even know now. So I did like jQuery in that, and I see some of the sort of like recent stuff that people do, and I'm vaguely aware of the new technologies because you scroll through Twitter and Twitter's like, you like programming, and then you see some like stupid stuff about Bun or something like that, and so I see it, but if I ever needed to do it, I could do it, but I don't think someone's going to hold a gun to my head and say, make me a website. So I think I'm pretty safe there. And if I needed a website, I would probably just cop out and use some basic thing like whatever the current website service is that generates your website and just gives you a blog or a way to sell something on there, and just really just do the most easy thing, to be honest. The injection is also a good way to help me focus off. Exactly, yes. Yeah, it really helps me with that as well. Just no distractions. Really hard, but it's great. But it's stressing sometimes. Yep. No, I got what you're saying, Voodoo. I got what you're saying. Yeah, so what was we looking at? So the next thing I wanted to look at was the tiny things. The small things. So we're just going to try and see what happens when stuff gets really small. Be like, do we want it to work that way? Can we make it better? So I'm going to just make my world or the scale of the model 0.01 and just move it around the screen. So can we see it? Yes, we can. Here it is. It's like a little fly on the wall. Right. So it kind of like does sort of blink a bit, but it's very small. And there's not really much point trying to render some small things sometimes. So maybe they just need to start to fade out. And then, because that just sort of starts blinking, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Right? It's a bit annoying. So we could probably get the size of it in the shader. Like we get that sort of view space bounding box thing. Let's put this back here, yeah. So we could just get the height of this bounds. I should just really print this out. GPU hprintf and just be like height equals it's floating point, so it'd be the bounds max point y. Take away the bounds, the min. This probably sounds a really dumb question. That's okay. I wouldn't take offense to a dumb question. You can ask whatever questions as long as they're tangential, to programming or whatever we're talking about. It's fine. But what's the process what terminologies would I use to be able to host a website only accessible on a local network? I don't want to ever touch the internet. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's quite all right. So, the way the internet basically works is you have yes, I can, like, the simple answer to this question is you just type the IP address of the machine you want to connect to into your web browser, and then as long as it's running a HTTP server on port, I think it's 431, I forget what it is, the HTTP port, or it's port 22, isn't it, these days? I don't know. HTTP port number, what is it? Oh, it's port AE. See, I don't know what I'm talking about. And HTTPS is 443, which you wouldn't really need to use the secure version. So you would use a HTTP server. See, there's tons of those. You can Google for those. And you would just run it on a machine. And then you get the IP address of your machine. And then on the other machine that you want to connect to, you'll type in that IP address into here, and it will just connect to it, and done. Now, you can also have your own sort of like, I think there's a way on Linux at least, to have like there's a hosts file on Linux. And with a hosts file, you can effectively type in like a name, IP address, and then an URL. So you can just jot this in on your machines where you want on your local network, and it just does so it's like what DNS does, right? DNS takes google.com, it connects to your DNS, right? And your DNS might be Google, which is connected at 8.8.8 as a quick example. And it asks that it goes to there, and they have a list of all these. It does a domain name lookup, and it will translate com, then Google, and then whatever com.google, and then it gives you an IP address for that, and then you'll go to that IP address. So what the host file does is it just, rather than going to DNS, it'll be like, oh, it's in the host file. Right, I've got the IP address for it, and it goes there. So you can use this to make your local website. Just you type in anything in here, and it'll just work. Now, you could also probably host a local DNS on your router, and then that's how you do sort of intranet stuff. I think is you do have a local DNS, and then it will just do it that way. So those things you can do. Port 22 is SSH, right? Of course. Oh, you have Pi-hole, excellent. I really want to get Pi-hole set up. I've been saying to my wife we should get I want to do this because we can ban ads on all our stuff. Because ads are just junk, and sometimes it's just like so. I scroll through X and I just get some sort of like half naked women on there. It's just, I don't really want to be seeing this. It's just bizarre. So Jellyfish server home videos. That's what we have at the moment. Yeah, you just use like there's just type in like a HTTP server Linux and just literally spin up a blank page. There's tons of stuff. You can actually write them in like Python, and you can write them in. So there's more complicated ones like Nginx and what's the other ones? Yes, there's like an Nginx web server, Apache HTTP server. These are a bit more complicated. But if you want to like do in a programming language, like say if you're like really into Rust or something, you can get like a HTTP server on there or Go, right? And you can write a little custom HTTP server that serves up pages or stuff like that, and just run it on a box, and off you go. Connect to the IP address, and done. It's quite simple, quite easy. So yeah, we're printing out the height now. So let's see what happens when we look at that ellipsoid. Right, so there it is. That's about 7 pixels. So really we could just be like, you know, when it starts getting to, it's really difficult to say, right? Because a 4K resolution, well, we could just say 8 pixels, right? Because the box doesn't perfectly fit. Because when it starts getting to 8 pixels, start fading it out. And then by the time it's 4 pixels, it's gone. So this is the actual model, but what we want is the ellipsoid, and this is where it goes over the ellipsoids you see. And there's an alpha. So if we get the, if we go here and say, okay, let's get the height, the pixel height, or the not pixel height, or the height in screen space. That'll just be, you know, be this thing we have here. All right, and then we can pick some kind of threshold. Now, this you probably want to configure based on the resolution, but we're just going to do some hard-coded stuff for now, and if it becomes real noticeable, then we will change it. So inside here, I'm just going to put some defines up. We're going to say graphics, ellipsoid, fade out height start, fade outs end. Maybe I can think of a better name at some point, but there we go. So it's 8 pixels. And 4 pixels where it ends, okay? So we take this height and screen space. Now we can compute what's known as a fade out alpha. And if we simply max, or if we simply clamp the height, what's the way of saying it? If we simply min the height with whatever the start one is, with graphics ellipsoid fade out start, so that's 8 pixels. So it'll be a value from 8 or lower, and 8 would be fully opaque, right? And then oh no, we want to clamp it. And then so it'd be between now a value between 0 wait a minute. Yes, the minimum value is the end, and the start is the. Probably could be a nicer name, but there you go. So now this fade out alpha will be a value between 4 and 8. So we take away the min value, it makes it now makes a value between 0 and 4. And then we divide by the difference, and that'll make it a. Oh, these are way too long of a names. Right, let's just call it graphics fade out height. Fade out at start, fade out end. It's a bit better. I'm not sure about the start and end, you know what I mean? And then we simply just want to say, right, now divide that by the difference. So the range basically. And voila, this would be a value between 0 and 1. Where 1 it would be 8 or more, and then 0 would be 4 or less. And there you go. So you take that and then you scale the source alpha by that, and then that should fade out all of our... Yeah, that just fade out all the ellipsoids when they get that threshold. Should be cool, and then you'll never see anything that's too small. So what you should really say... Yeah, so here it is here, right? Now when we... Yeah, so it started to fade there, but the problem is it's so damn bright that you still see sort of these flickering pixels sometimes. So maybe we need the threshold to be bigger, but really, I think that problem comes from... Yeah, when we apply... It promises it's in HDR, isn't it? So it's so damn bright. Yeah, I've just got to be careful with some of this stuff. Yeah. Let's say it starts fading out at 16 pixels and ends at 8. That's another one. And what we should really be saying is if it's if it's fully faded out, like just don't render it. So if you take that bounds height here, you can be like, well, if the fade out alpha is actually basically 0, then just continue. Don't bother doing anything. And that's kind of a cheap operation that you could do, but it's... Might be better to do there then. Let's try that. And you can probably do that on the whole. Yeah, so there you go, that's fully gone there. What we can say is like, we can just print it out. Discarded. Discarded twice? Oh, of course, yeah, there's two ellipsoids, isn't there? There's these two ellipsoids, so, and discarded, right there. So here it's still kind of rendering, there's a little bit of a speck from the lights, which is a bit of a shame. We could probably look into that later, but this is still much better than it was, and we can at least handle small things now. Problem is though, it does add more transparent objects, which is a bit of a shame. 16 pixels might be a bit too high, to be honest. But it's stuff we can play around with. There we go. So that's good. Good progress. So yeah, what else is left? So we've done this now. Can I edit this? I want to move this around. Right, so we've done all of these things this month. So the next stream will be on Thursday, about 4 hours ago. 3.5 hours ago, I think, if maths. No, 2.5 hours ago, if maths serves me right. So, right now, we haven't really done any performance Well, we've been looking at performance, right? But we haven't done any real performance testing. We've been doing a little bit of testing for stuff which kind of doesn't matter. So now we really want to try something that really does matter, because we want to see if this renderer works well enough. And we want to see if, like, the occlusion buffer does its job. Does it help? Can we make it help better? Questions like that. And hopefully provide good enough answers. Now let me put the size of these objects back. So when we update the graphics payload and go over all the entities and just throw them at the renderer, and the renderer goes, okay, I'll render them. Put it to the right scale now, because we changed that to a very small scale just so we could test that discard thing, which was pretty cool. Now we've got our scene back. These should be transparent, so let's get those transparent boys back. So right now we've got like 3 different renderers, a ray trace anti-aliasing one. I've got to get the settings panel up and running, but here they are. Ray trace anti-aliasing, multi-sampled anti-aliasing, and super sampled anti-aliasing, because they're the best types of anti-aliasing I've come up with for now that I would like in this game. And I've got a little profiler here, and we can hit pause. So this is a kind of in between resolution of 1080p and 4K. And we've got about 1 millisecond here, but this is, if you look at it, what's really taking up the screen real estate is kind of a 1080p image. And as we get further in to take up more of the screen with some of this stuff, it really does peak up a bit. So yeah, rendering at least one object in every pixel is about 3 milliseconds. If we go up to here, though, it really starts to sort of go over, or go all over the place. Oh no, it's not so bad. But when I did all of these, it got really bad when we had lots of overlap, wasn't it? But we've changed it now, so there's not a lot of overlap anymore. Yeah, here's where you start to see it. It's quite bad. There's a lot of overlap. It already starts to sort of jump, and I don't know what's causing that jump. So I can pause it with the spacebar. Right, so if I don't put in my barriers, it doesn't jump that much, but it just still jump. Right, so you can go as low as 0.22 for some reason. I'm trying to see what that higher frame is, but I can't. Pause it on it. It goes to about 0.53 or something like this, but I want to see what the rest of the shaders are. Oh no, it's not actually. It's getting quicker. Right, I'm misunderstanding what was going on. So these are coming back, and then these ones are coming back here. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes this is really quick. And it must be because, I don't know, what would be the noise? Would it be... Right, sometimes the ray tracer is just quicker, is that what we're saying? All of this is really bunching up a bit more as well. Maybe it's just in cache or something, I'm not sure. Or could it be that's fundamentally different? And why does it only happen when you sort of get really close in, you know? That's something to look into. But I think when we sort of fill up the scene with a whole ton of instances, we're going to see this a lot. And if we get to see what these numbers are, we kind of zoomed in where the yeah, zoomed in a bit much there, but it would be good if this profiler would tell you what is the current zoom. Because right now we don't know where like 16 ms is, right? But yeah, I'll be happy if we... I think what people typically aim for is the whole rendering gets done in like 4 milliseconds or whatever. And that would include the occlusion stuff, I think, as well. Maybe. So let's try and aim for like 4 milliseconds. But then again, this is actually more than 1080p. So I think we want to say on this sort of mid-tier card that I have, because it's not a fantastic card that I've got. It's mid-tier, and I've done that for a reason. I don't want to program anything too good and just be spoiled by the hardware I have, right? So this is roughly 1080p, and as you see, this problem, you know, it's about 2.5 milliseconds there. It crashed because the profilers ran out of memory. I just currently keep bump allocated memory. But yeah, so we're going to be looking into like performance basically and rendering like a big old scene and just seeing where things fall apart. We'll probably add more ellipsoids per model, and then we'll probably try tons of instances first, and then we'll probably just see all the performance is there. And then render tons of ellipsoids, see what the problems are there. And we'll probably have to start looking into the occlusion buffer, making sure those things are okay and things are properly occluding and the performance is good enough. And maybe play around with how big the tile regions are, because that matters a lot. Right now we bin stuff into screen tiles. Crying out loud. That's alright. So if you take a look at here, we bin these into screen tiles, and the screen tiles are currently 16 by 16 pixels, which is quite big when you have a 1080, when you have like over 1080p's worth 1080p screen. You get quite a lot of tiles. So if I look at the scene, I don't think they're enabled. I thought I had them enabled, but I don't. I have some sort of debug renders of the tiles, but you know, there's tons of them. If you just take 1080p alone, divide by 16, that's 120. So it's 120 by about 60 odd, I think. So it's about 7,000 tiles. So if you have one element or one ellipsoid on the whole screen, it duplicates it about 7,000 times. So yeah, if you've got tons of these, you know, you've got 1,000 of those, it gets quite big. And this is where the occlusion buffer comes in, because it helps discard things which are not visible, so they don't get sorted into screen tiles at unnecessary rates. So when you make the screen tiles bigger, you have less duplication of objects, or less references to the same object, shall we say. These are not duplications of objects per se, they're references to an object that live inside a screen tile. You have less of those to sort into screen tiles and increase performance that way for the sorting, but it will make the ray tracer less efficient because it has to check more, potentially check more ellipsoids. So there's trade-offs there we can play around with as well. So that's what we'll be doing over the next couple of streams, basically. So it's going to be good. And after that, we'll render to HDR, tone map, bloom. You know, be like a proper renderer. See some proper bloom happening. Right, so in the meantime, guys, there's a Discord if you want to come and hang out. And if you want to get access to the code and you support the channel, appreciate you guys who support the channel. Support via Ko-Fi or Twitch. You get access to the code and can run it on your Linux or Windows machine. So let's find someone to raid. Also, there is a VOD channel if you want to see past streams. And also go ahead and subscribe over to there, please, because that'll help me be able to also stream over to YouTube and get maybe a bit of a more of an audience, because there's a wider people like watching on YouTube as well. So I need 1,000. I'm on like 700 odd. So every little helps. Thank you, Beauty. And yeah, feel free to post anything that you guys are working on. I like seeing stuff you guys are working on. I like having chats with, like, you know, problems you guys are solving. It's all helps me learn and understand things. Hey, Mr. Flurry is streaming. Knock to collaborate. Knock. Let's give him a raid. Alright, guys. My update, that's it. Okay. Have a good Wednesday. Have a good Thursday. And hopefully I'll see you all on Thursday. If not, see you guys at the weekend on Sunday. Check out the schedule if you're interested in more. Cool. Rightio. Catch you later.